For several people in the United States, who they will vote for and their position on a proposed policy comes down to a single decision. How will their vote or a candidate's proposed policy impact their wallet? For many, their decision making process is guided by a single factor. Donald Trump provided stimulus payments. And because he did this, the rationale becomes he cares about the common person. But did Trump really provide the stimulus payment many American homes needed during the pandemic? On January 24, 2019, Representative Joe Courtney of the Democratic Party introduced the Coronavirus Relief and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act as it is more commonly known. Within the CARES Act were several mechanisms of relief for small businesses, those who were receiving unemployment benefits, as well as medical institutions, and perhaps most important to many Americans, direct stimulus payments. After making its way through the congressional process, the CARES Act passed in the House of Representatives with overwhelming support. It was supported by 230 Democrats, 189 Republicans, 6 representatives opposed, and 8 abstained, making for a total of 419 votes in the affirmative. H.R. 748, or the CARES Act, was received in the Senate the next day, July 18th. While the United States did not begin to implement shutdowns until March of 2020, House Democrats knew that aid would be needed because in May of 2018, Donald Trump disbanded the White House Pandemic Response Preparedness Team, which was established by Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor under Barack Obama. By July of 2019, the same month in which the House of Representatives passed the CARES Act, CDC epidemiologists who worked alongside China's disease control agency were recalled from their posts because Donald Trump eliminated the role, obliterating the critical communication pipeline that was needed between the two nations. After passing the House, the CARES Act sat in the Republican-controlled Senate for 8 months before proceeding to a motion for consideration, despite the fact that the first cases of COVID were reported in the United States in January of 2020. When the Senate began the process of working through the CARES Act, it was further held up by former Republican Senator Ben Sasse, who wanted language added to the bill to ensure that American families and individuals did not receive more money than what he thought they should, despite the fact that nearly everyone was out of work and at home. After Sasse's amendment was added to the CARES Act, it finally passed the Senate on March 27th of 2020. It was signed by Donald Trump the same day. Despite the fact that the CARES Act was signed by Donald Trump on the same day that it passed the Senate, another holdup took place preventing the much needed relief from reaching American families and individuals. A request was received to add Donald Trump's name to the relief payments that were to be issued by the Treasury Department. Just mere days before the first round of checks were set to be sent out, a scramble ensued between the White House and the Treasury Department. The White House was informed that including Donald Trump's name on the aid checks would delay the much needed funds from getting to individuals and families on time. House Democrats became aware of what was taking place and sent a letter immediately to Steve Mnuchin demanding answers. Due to Democratic pressure, the IRS began direct deposits immediately the next day. However, checks featuring Donald Trump's name were mailed out at the end of April. The commitment to get Donald Trump's name on the check was not an empty effort. The Treasury Department shared the drafts that they had sent over to the White House for review, including one in which Secretary Mnuchin's name was included alongside Donald Trump's. In other words, Donald Trump did not provide the nation with a stimulus. In the first instance, because he is the executive, and that is beyond his purview. The purse strings belong to Congress. They make those kinds of decisions. That is the function and purpose of the Ways and Means Committee. In the second instance, because his administration worked to actually hold stimulus payments up in an effort to make sure that his name actually got onto the check. Delays caused by the Trump administration and by extension Donald Trump himself were further punctuated by former Republican Senator Ben Sasse, again, who wanted to limit the amount that families would receive during an international pandemic. On the other hand, House Democrats, after Trump disbanded the pandemic preparedness team that was put in place by Susan Rice, who served under the Obama administration, went immediately into action based off of the information they had at the time concerning what was going on. After constructing the CARES Act, they worked hard to make sure that the bill got across the finish line in the House, only for it to be stalled in the Senate and held up further by the Trump administration as the pandemic was worsening. Upon learning about what was taking place and what the Trump administration was attempting to do and its implications for everyone in the United States, House Democrats immediately went into action, compelling the IRS to send payments out immediately, which the IRS did do the next day. This is what happened with the CARES Act, as well as the stimulus payments associated with the CARES Act. House Democrats constructed the bill. They worked hard to get it across the line in a bipartisan effort. House Democrats also protected the bill, and House Democrats made sure that the payments were paid out in a timely manner to make sure that everyone in the United States would be taken care of during the time of the height of the pandemic. Vote wisely. I'll see you next time. Peace.